Welcome back to Root Double, For Crime After Days Extended Edition. Now, there's no getting around it now. We've 100%ed the after route. So, it's time to finally get the story of our three high schoolers who got trapped in LABO. Really, we're probably going to get the story of what led up to them getting trapped in LABO as well, since this is called Before. I wonder if this is before the whole confrontation, right in the middle of Area N, between what's effectively Natsuhiko and Watase. After route being everything that took place after that, before, perhaps, it took place before. Yeah, we are. This is 6 days before after route starts, so let's do this. A certain accident traps children in LABO, a nuclear research facility. It is then that the boy is caught up in a mysterious phenomenon. Finds himself recalling the past as if he were reliving it. A strange phenomenon indeed. He soon watches once again as a trivial incident causes his peaceful days to collapse. What awaits him at the end is a shocking, cruel truth. Can the past be rewritten?
あなたは私から親しいものを遠ざけられました。彼らにとって私は忌むべきものとなりました。私は閉じ込められて逃げることができません。旧約聖書詩編88章8節。
Roar echoed through the laboratory at daybreak, as if it were a bell heralding the end. The boy gasped in shock. The girl screamed beside him. They felt the tremors through the floor.
爆弾、それも複数。夏彦、これって。
The boy called Natsuhiko gritted his teeth at the girl's words.
ああ、わかってる。僕らは間に合わなかったんだ。
His words were drowned out by the shrill shriek of an alarm.
ただいま、地下1階第1エリアで激しい振動を感知しました。ただいま、地下2階第3エリアで激しい振動を感知しました。ただいま、地下1階第2エリアで
The Sick Laboratory of Atomic and Biological Organization. A scientific research facility located on the outskirts of Rokume City. An explosion occurred. A calm automated voice read out an announcement.
施設内のセキュリティを避難モードに移行。N エリアを除く全ゲートを開放します。職員の皆様は落ち着いて地上へ避難してください。
Everyone seemed to be confused by the fragmentary information.
何が起きたんだ。わかりません。爆発のようですが。爆発だとこの施設でか。
It's more likely than you think. The announcement continued as if to answer that question.
緊急放送です。
Kira?
ただいま施設内で原因不明の爆発が発生しました。現状判明している限り、施設内の十数箇所で同時に爆発が起き、それに伴い火災も発生しています。入口研究員、柏木研究員、至急第2エリアに来てください。十数箇所で爆発だと。原因不明？どういうことだ？
As the men shuddered, a female scientist muttered.
大丈夫よ。この施設には二重三重の防災システムが配備されているんだから。
Hello,
何が
Miyoko.
起こっても大規模な災害になったりはしないはず。安全は確保されているの。安心して。
He spoke softly and gently to quell their fears with hope. That hope was trampled soon enough.
消火システムが作動しない。なぜだ。くそ。署員の避難を急がせろ。
The systems that were supposedly their last ray of hope proved to be completely ineffective.
ファクトリーでも出火を確認。開発中の機材が炎上してます。
ふざけるな。開発にいくらかかってると思ってる。燃えましたで済ませられるか。人力で消火しろ。
4カ所で同時出火してるんですよ。誰が消火できるって言うんですか。
Chaos and hysteria dominated the facility. Anxiety began to spread. And as if to top it off, a new announcement rang out.
N エリアの数値増幅を確認。緊急停止システムを始動しました。N エリアおよび制御室の職員も全員直ちに地上へ避難してください。
When the announcement ended, the silence shifted to sheer panic.
数値増幅。とにかく地上へ。遠隔制御室へ。エレベーターはダメです。階段です。
Everyone shouted their lungs out.
AD を投与しろ。備蓄してあるはずだろ。まさかこれを使うことになるとは。迷うな。マニュアル通りに行動しろ。
They did their best to adapt to the situation. It was all too late by then.
非常階段が崩れ落ちただと。エレベーターも全て停止しています。避難の術がありません。バカな。なんでそんなことに。
Their escape routes were cut off. They had no way of knowing why. Nobody understood what was going on. Nobody, with a few exceptions, that is. Natsuhiko and the girls stared at the collapsed staircase in exasperation.
ちくしょう。全部奴らの仕業だ。
まさかここまでの状況になるなんて。どうするの、夏彦。
Oh boy. The girl beside him grieved. Just how much time did they have left? As he pondered that question, the boy looked at his watch. But to his dismay... Oh! One of the explosions had broken it. The watch's date had stopped at 9:16, its hands at 6:19. Nice. Time he'd likely never forget for the rest of his life. Only we had gotten here just a little bit sooner. Even if they were late, there was still meaning in their arrival. Natsuhiko tried to walk off, but the girl grabbed him by the hand.
待ってよ、夏彦。そんな状態でどこに行くつもり？
奴らを探しに。
まさか夏彦。
奴らの計画を阻止するんだ。今からでも僕にできることを。
それはダメ。夏彦、頭を冷やして。
どうして？真城だって僕がここに来ることには同意してくれたじゃないか。
さっきまでとは状況が違うじゃない。もう遅いんだよ。
遅くない。きっとまだ間に合う。それにどこに逃げても同じだ。だったら。
The moment those words left his lips, a sharp pain ran through his cheek. Ow! The girl had slapped him.
失いたいの。
Those words gouged out his heart. And then another roar rang out.
爆発。今度はどこで？お願い、夏彦。早く逃げよう。
The girl's pleading voice shook Natsuhiko's heart.
分かった。まずは出口を探そう。
And thus they ran, looking for an exit, without knowing what lay ahead of them. And thus the long day that they later looked back to time and time again had begun.
別の階段を探そう。どこかに無事な階段があるはずだ。
施設内の構造はわかる？先に調べるべき。闇雲に逃げるのは危険。
サリュン、何をしてるんだ？
今、この施設内の地図を検索する。
Hacker voice, I'm in.
先ほど崩れたのは外周塔の非常階段だと思う。
隣の内周塔にも非常階段があるみたいだね。
よし、じゃあまずはそこに行こう。なんでこんなに早く火災が。
まさか施設内の人たちを逃がさないようにしているの？
ここは危険だ。別の道を探そう。僕は隣の第2エリアに続く道が無事か確認してくる。
了解。気をつけて。
They ran with all the courage they could muster to escape from the facility and survive. But in the midst of their path, he ran into her. Hello, Yuuri.
Yuuri?
There stood Yuuri. The girl who lived in Natsuhiko's home. The girl who was supposed to be waiting for them at home. Oh. The girl who shouldn't have been here. What's Yuuri doing? Natsuhiko gazed at her in astonishment. Yuuri.
どうして来てしまったの？
Sadly muttered this.
ユーリこそどうしてここに？家から出られたのか？
As he asked this question, Natsuhiko thought back and recalled the journey that brought him here. Eventually, Yuuri spoke in a lonely voice
そういうことだったの。
and smiled as if a weight had been taken off her shoulders. That moment, a flash flickered right beside them.
ユーリ!
Oh shit! Natsuhiko swiftly lunged at Yuuri. Not a second later, a shockwave struck them. Jesus. Natsuhiko and Yuuri were blown away. A split second before they hit the ground. Events that led up to today flashed before Natsuhiko's eyes. How did this happen? The answer lied in his memories. It all began that fateful day. 6 days ago. September 10th, 2030. Back before anyone had even expected things would turn out this way. Back when everything was still peaceful. Eventually, in the deep depths of his fading consciousness, "Awake," a voice called to him. Or perhaps it was merely a memory of such a voice. He heard that voice as he lay beneath the whitewashed tomb. And then time began to move. Started the first day. Natsuhiko. Natsuhiko woke up that day, found himself on his own bed. It was only to be expected. He had always slept and woken up in this room for as long as he could remember. He got up, put on his glasses he had set aside, and stretched his arms out wide. Felt as though he had awoken from a worrying dream, but he couldn't remember what it was. A cursory look at his watch showed that it was 9:10 at 6:19. His watch was perfectly measuring the flow of time today as usual. Not even once had it broken these past 10 years. 6:19 Salvia 1969. He climbed out of bed and changed into his uniform and left his room. 6 days until the incident. Once he entered the living room, he heard some light humming coming from the kitchen. Oh?
Ohayo.
Once he called out to her, oh? Everyone humming cheerfully replied. Newscaster on TV was rambling on in a matter-of-fact tone of voice.
次のニュースです。今朝未明、6名士の BC トレーニングセンターに過激派団体による怪文書が届きました。
It was twilight.
先頃行われた BC セミナーとの関連も指摘されており、警察は市の保安課と共同で
Natsuhiko casually let the news in one ear and out the other, thinking to himself. Almost time for her to wake up, huh? As soon as that thought crossed his mind, he heard the living room door open. Good morning.
おはようユーリ。
ひこり、ましろ、おはよ
Not a morning person. Yuuri sank onto the table as she muttered the nicknames she had for those two. Right around that time, the other girl came out of the kitchen.
おはようユーリ、ちょうどご飯ができたとこだよ。
Oh. Brightly sounding the morning meal was Mashiro, Natsuhiko's childhood friend. Yuuri was about to fall back to sleep before Mashiro's voice woke her up.
う。ああ、ご飯だ、ご飯だ。
今日のメニューは？
ハッシュドポテトにベーコンエッグ、サラダにオムレツにオレンジジュース。いわゆるアメリカンブレックファーストだよ。
おお、朝から充実してるな。
おいしそう。
Sounds like a
それ
good
で皆
time.
さん、手を合わせて。
いただきます。
Oh. And thus they began their breakfast as usual.
おいしい。さすがマシロンだよ。
Oh.
ああ、よくあんな短時間でこれほどのものを作れるもんだ。
慣れだよ、慣れ。もう半年も作ってるんだもん。
Mashiro gave an embarrassed grin upon being complimented. Just another typical breakfast at the Tenkawa residence. Now that I think about it, it's a little strange, huh? Not even family. Yet we're more family than my actual family. Though they were all sharing a meal at the same table, none of the people here were related. Only family Natsuhiko had was his mother. His father passed away before Natsuhiko could remember. His mother worked hard to support them, to the point she became a serious workaholic. She spent most of her time at work, seldom returning home. As Natsuhiko sat lost in thought, a concerned voice called out to him.
あれ、ひこり、ご飯が進んでないね。お腹でも痛いの？
ああ、いや、大丈夫。じっくり味わって食べていただけさ。
そう、よかった。
The girl's name was Yuuri Kotono. She was Natsuhiko's childhood friend, and 2 years his senior. That's still baffling. She started living in this house with Natsuhiko long ago due to extenuating circumstances. They grew up like siblings, and even today they seemed like real family members. Yuuri was a kind girl and would always worry about Natsuhiko, almost to a fault.
僕はこう見えて体は頑丈なんだ。食欲はいつも旺盛だよ。
And with that declaration, he stuffed his cheeks with bread, causing a different cheerful voice to chime in this time.
お、いい食べっぷりだね、夏彦。こっちも腕の振るいがいがあるよ。
Oh. This girl's name was Mashiro Toba. She didn't exactly live with Natsuhiko. She was another one of Natsuhiko's childhood friends, but she only started having breakfast here about half a year ago. In the absence of his mother, Natsuhiko generally did most of the chores at the Tenkawa residence. But skillful and adaptive as he was, even Natsuhiko had something he wasn't good at, and that something was cooking. Prior to Natsuhiko entering high school, a commuting housekeeper had prepared his meals, but this spring she had resigned for personal reasons. And that's when Natsuhiko's mother asked Mashiro to help prepare breakfast and dinner since they lived in the same neighborhood. Natsuhiko bowed his head to Mashiro's words and muttered softly.
それにしても、いつも悪いな、マシロ。
なに言ってんの。夏彦のお母さんからお礼もいただいてるし、バイトみたいなもんだよ。
Yeah.
それに、あんたのためじゃない。どっちかって言えば、ユーリのためだよ。ね、ユーリ。
そう言ってくれるのは嬉しいけど。
ああ、そうかい。ま、僕はどっちでも美味しい料理が食べれれば満足だけどさ。
Fair deal. You get paid, I get good food. Then, as if to interrupt their peaceful chit-chat, an unsettling voice rang out.
それでは次のニュースです。昨夜6名市内の研究施設 DC 開発センターで火災があり、研究棟6棟が全焼しました。
火事？
Suddenly, silence spread across the dining table, but the newscaster continued, matter-of-factly.
出火時、屋内には数名の職員、研究員が残っておりましたが、出動した消防レスキュー隊により全員無事に救出され、幸い死者は出なかった模様です。
助かったんだ。よかったね。
ん？ああ、そうだな。
あれ、なんか適当。冷たいんだ、夏彦。
そうか？テレビの向こう側の話に一喜一憂しても仕方がないじゃないか。
Fair, but still, it's hard to just cut yourself off like
でも
that.
この町で起きた出来事だし、全く無関係とも言えないんじゃないかな。近頃物騒だし、何か事件に巻き込まれたりとか。
考えすぎさ。大丈夫だと思うよ。この町ではね。
Powerful words. The town they lived in was quite good about public order. It was unthinkable that any of them would get caught up in an incident. Yeah, I don't think that got picked up. There's just really loud music coming from next door all of a sudden. Ooh. However, at that time, Yuuri shook her head and quietly spoke. What's happening here?
ヒコリン、安心してばかりいちゃダメだよ。
Hello.
恐ろしい出来事はテレビの向こうでしか起きないわけじゃないんだよ。ヒコリンの身にだって予想もつかないことが起きるかもしれない。
Natsuhiko's expression stiffened upon hearing such an ominous prediction. No way. He tried to say that, but his voice wouldn't come out. Dreadful incidents don't happen twice. Peaceful days would continue forever, without even the slightest disturbance. At least that's what he always thought. And a disturbance was exactly what Natsuhiko suddenly noticed out of the corner of his eye. His prized watch from years ago had broken sometime when he wasn't looking. Why? When did it? Natsuhiko was still unaware of why that watch of his had broken. That watch dial read 9:16, 6:19. That was the time Natsuhiko's watch broke. Oh. That's the same time Watase remembered. Regardless, we need your power to link this world to the future. The Senses Sympathy System has been prepared in order to allow you to willingly influence the world. Mr. Toyle will explain the SSS to you. Senses. Seen this? Impressions, emotions, sensations in this context. Simply, it's your assessment of how you feel about someone else. In other words, if their senses are high, you have a good impression of that person. On the other hand, if their senses are low, it means you have a bad impression of that person. The Senses Sympathy System exists to quantify your senses and reflect them on this world. Senses, we've seen this before. Magic seal, anagram. Categorize 9 types. 9 graph cylinder radar chart. Seen this before if you start out this LP from the beginning. But not to have confidence in your instincts and opinions. Alternatively, you determine how much you value yourself. Again, it depends on the context of the choice, and you don't always know the context of the choice until you see the consequences of the choice, and that feels like an intentional design choice. Why is Natsuhiko bottomed out? With scenario divergence, you will travel down fixed divergence points. What was it, precious? Example. Is it the same demo thing? Certain boy's house. Like, if I skip this.
とても大切なことなの？
Yeah. Enneagram glowing blue. I've seen this before. A senses input move here right away, with glowing blue. However, the girl's favor towards the boy is very important to him. A tragic result may be awaiting in the worst case scenario. Please look over the situation calmly and select your senses carefully. We are expecting your feelings to have a good effect on this world. When did his watch break? What was the meaning behind Yuuri's cryptic message? Natsuhiko thought for a moment in bewilderment, eventually just shrugged.
ユーリは心配性だな。
Okay, I'm liking just this vague allusion to flashback, time loop nonsense going on just with the watch.
大丈夫だよ。恐ろしい出来事なんか起きないって。
Watch is clearly central to a lot of this.
昔の僕とは違うんだ。危険なところに飛び込むことなんてないからさ。
そうだね。ごめんね。暗いニュースを見るとなんだか不安になっちゃって。
なに、気にしなくていいよ。
As he spoke, he glanced at his watch and was taken aback. What? Could have sworn he saw that his watch was broken just a second ago. But on closer inspection, the dial was unscratched, and the hands were ticking as always. 9:10, 6:49. There was nothing strange about the time displayed either. As he was seeing things. It seemed a bit strange, but he had no other explanation. Oh, when Natsuhiko and Yuuri exchanged smiles, a slightly exasperated Mashiro chimed in. Oh wow, hello. We are in the Tenkawa house. Holy shit. Oh, this is cool. Oh, this is really cool. Research Gate. City Gate. Rokume Private Academy. Yeah. Angel Fire Department. Old Rokume Hospital. Rokume Hospital. Watase's home. Public housing apartments. Oh boy. Lake Rokume. LABO. Oh boy. We're getting to explore Rokume City this time.
二人とも何ボソボソ話してるの？
Why not? Let's... I appreciate you both. I don't know the context of this, but we're fucking... I appreciate you both.
朝なんだし、明るいお話しようよ。
When he heard Mashiro's suggestion, Natsuhiko declined. Oh,
まあまあ、たまにはしんみりする朝もいいじゃないか。
へえ、なんかテンション下がるの。
Mashiro seemed a little dissatisfied, but... Well, Yuri's a little depressed too, so what can I say? With that thought in mind, he let her be. And thus their breakfast quietly came to an end. After breakfast, Natsuhiko quickly got dressed. Actually... cheerful it is.
二人とも何ボソボソ話してるの？朝なんだし、明るいお話しようよ。
When he heard Mashiro's suggestion, Natsuhiko obliged.
そうだな。何か楽しい話題あるかい？
そうだね。例えば、今期の朝アニメの話とか。
Oh hell yeah, hit me with this 2030 anime. What can we look forward to in 10
ちょ
years?
うどおすすめのがやってる時間だよ。みんなで一緒に見ようよ。
おっと、またアニメの話か。
マシロン好きだもんね。
なに？二人とも反応薄いな。美味しいご飯をいただきながら気心の知れた仲間と朝アニメ、これに勝る幸福はないでしょうが。
True.
ダメ人間たちの朝って感じもする
Oh,
けどね。
oh come on,
で
Natsuhiko.
も確かにそういう幸福もあるよね。
Yuuri spoke with a smile. Her earlier worries had seemingly subsided.
わかったよマシロ。で、おすすめってのは？
これだよこれ。
Oh boy. As soon as Mashiro changed the channel, the opening theme to a children's anime began playing. They all began watching as they enjoyed their breakfast. Oh. Oh, you're not going to tell me more about the anime? That's disappointing. After breakfast, Natsuhiko quickly got dressed. He grabbed his bag, turned on the lights, and bade farewell to Yuuri as she was staying at home.
それじゃあユーリ、学校行ってくるよ。
ユーリ、お留守番よろしくね。
いってらっしゃい。
And with that farewell, Natsuhiko and Mashiro left the house. They got outside. A cool breeze brushed against their cheeks. Oh, Mashiro's theme. Okay, I like this.
過ごしやすい季節になったね。
ああ、もうすぐ秋って感じだな。
A day like this would be perfect for a leisurely stroll to school through the breeze, but a quick glance at his watch told Natsuhiko that they only had around 5 minutes to make it to the bus stop in time.
ってやばい。このままじゃ本当に遅れるぞ。
嘘。走ろう夏彦。
ああ。
Natsuhiko and Mashiro broke off into a mad dash. The bus stop closest to Natsuhiko's home. Along the way, they spotted the bus already at the stop.
マシロ、急げ。バスが出ちゃうぞ。
But just after Natsuhiko said that, the bus had already begun to depart. They needed to get on that bus, they'd be late for sure.
おい、待ってくれ、運転手さん。
Natsuhiko's yelling fell on deaf ears as the bus began to speed away.
って聞こえるわけないか。
Might have been able to see it, but he just didn't care.
マシロ、どうする？
Natsuhiko turned to Mashiro and immediately held his tongue. Eh? He thought she was running along behind him, but instead she was standing still with her eyes closed. Her index finger to her temple.
おい、マシロ、まさか。
ちょっと待って。集中するから。
Mashiro said thus, and the very next moment. Eh? A voice rang out in all directions that seemed loud enough to reverberate to the very core of one's mind. Birds in the trees flew away all at once. Oh wow. The dog basking in the sunny sidewalk leapt to its feet and scurried away in surprise. Oh, I'm sorry, dog. Finally, the bus that had left it too far behind suddenly braked.
届いたみたいだね。
だな。
Natsuhiko held down his ears as he spoke. He felt like his eardrums were still shaking from that loud voice earlier, but... wait, it's got nothing to do with my ears. That voice was reverberating directly in Natsuhiko's brain.
マシロ、BC を使ったな。
BC is the ability to communicate ideas directly to someone else's brain. Power one must never use recklessly. And yet, in light of an accusation of said reckless use, Mashiro nonchalantly replied,
声が届かないなら心に直接語りかければいいんだよ。
Fair.
それはわかるけど、不特定多数の人に発信しちゃダメだろう。
仕方ないじゃん。遅刻するかどうかの瀬戸際なんだし。
ああ、条例違反で捕まっても知らないからな。
大丈夫大丈夫。このくらい多めに見てくれるって。
Natsuhiko and Mashiro rushed to the stop bus as they had that exchange. And 20 long minutes after, they narrowly managed to board the bus. Natsuhiko and Mashiro arrived at their school, Rokume Academy. A large-scale school incorporating elementary school all the way to high school. Wow. As they passed through the gate, Mashiro asked Natsuhiko a question. Does this mean that Yuuri's a high school graduate?
1次元目なんだっけ？
超心理学だよ。
へえ。朝っぱらから移動教室か。
いいじゃないか。お前の好きな BC の授業だろ。
With that exchange, Natsuhiko and Mashiro entered the school building. Oh wow. First period, parapsychology. A particularly important part of Rokume Academy's curriculum. Its lessons take place in a special BC room. Oh! The course teacher, Anna Tsubakiyama, stood at the podium with her pointer directed at the screen.
時代とともに人間のコミュニケーションのあり方は大きく変わるのです。
Hello, Sensei. This lecture again. Professor Tsubakiyama really loves this story, huh? Anna would often tell stories about BC like this. However, today's story was unusually basic information.
はるか昔、仕草や行動で他者に意思を伝えていた人間はやがて言葉を手にしました。そして文字が生まれ、活版印刷が生まれ、電信、電話、インターネットが生まれ、コミュニケーションは進化していきました。今世紀の初頭、人間のコミュニケーションのあり方に大転換が起こったのです。そう、皆さんご存知 BC の発言です。
Anna controlled the computer as she spoke, and text appeared on the screen.
ビヨンドコミュニケーション、それは言語を介さずに行う新しい意思伝達方法。一昔前の人から見たらはっきり言って超能力よね。でもこれはオカルトの世界の話じゃありません。オカルトの語源は隠すということ。これだけ大々的に認知されたらもうオカルトじゃないわ。
Anna was exactly right. People who can use BC, popularly known as communicators, have made their existence known worldwide for the past 16 years or so.
歴史のターニングポイントは2014年。BC の存在が科学的にほぼ実証された年ね。
Wow, damn, guys, we missed out on that.
そ
When
れ
did
と
that
連動
happen?
するかのように、世界中で多数のコミュニケーターが生まれるようにもなりました。
New text appeared on the screen as Anna spoke. 2014 was the year Natsuhiko and Mashiro were born. Society transformed in many ways in the following years, but Natsuhiko was not quite sure of the details. I've heard humans don't remember things that don't interest them. I guess it's true. In stark contrast to Natsuhiko's listlessness, Anna continued her eloquent lecture. Damn, all this stuff that we missed out on if only the world hadn't ended in 2012.
さて、コミュニケーターが使える能力は2つ。まず、他者に意思を伝えるテレパシー。これは16年前の BC 大発言の直後に発見されたわね。その次の能力、他者の心を読むエンパシー。こちらもその翌年には存在が実証されたわ。テレパシーを使える人はこの中にもかなりいるわよね。しかもその数は年々増えているのよ。日本の場合、コミュニケーターの発言率は16年連続で右肩上がり。これってやっぱり日本人が。
Natsuhiko glanced at Mashiro as he turned a deaf ear to Anna's lecture. The Mashiro used to stop the bus earlier this morning was a prime example of telepathy. The extent of the ability she used there was not at all uncommon. The Esper's Nest, huh? Natsuhiko sighed as he recalled the honorable yet somehow odd nickname given to his school. Honorable? BC's convenient ability to have, but to master it requires a great deal of patience. Practice, rather. And so in recent years it was decided that a school would be established for the technical training of communicators to improve their abilities. In other words, it was to be a school meant solely for communicators. That school was the very same school Natsuhiko attended, Parapsychology Specialty School, Rokume Academy. Rokume Academy is integrated from elementary to high school in order to provide special education for gifted children starting at a young age. And naturally, its curriculum includes a great number of BC-related classes. Acceptance to Rokume Academy requires BC aptitude. every year when new students enter the school, the principal makes this speech. You all have passed a rigorous selection process and may now consider yourself a part of the BC elite. BC for life. Elite, huh? Natsuhiko coldly pondered the principal's words. Once Natsuhiko finished his little recollection, Anna's voice finally reached him again.
でね、日本は諸国よりいち早くその教育に力を入れるようにしたの。まさに国家的ファインプレーよね。その結果として大幅な
Eventually, out of the entire class of bored students, a few began to call out with wry smiles on their faces.
先生、今日の前工場はいくらなんでも初歩的すぎないっすか？
そんなん知らない生徒この学校にはいないっすよ。
そうそう、いつもの BC うんちくならともかくね。
あらごめんなさい。昨夜 BC 黎明期の電気映画見たんでちょっと盛り上がっちゃってね。
Huh. Anna cleared her throat and erased the text on the screen, somewhat sadly. I planned this out for hours last night.
さて、座学はこの辺で。そろそろ実技に入りましょうか。皆さん、隣の人と二人一組になって。
And with that, the students turned to their neighbors like usual. Which is why students often sat next to people they were close to in this class.
それでは皆さん、練習開始。
At that signal, everyone began practicing at once. Immediately, the noisy whispers of telepathy filled Natsuhiko's head. If these whispers were to reach the other classrooms, they'd be a nuisance. However, the BC rooms used a material that dampened the conduction of telepathy, allowing the students to practice without worrying about the noise.
じゃあ僕らもやるか、マシロ。
When Natsuhiko turned her way and said this, Mashiro couldn't help but curl her lips into a dauntless smile.
ははこの能力レベル3の真城さんに BC 勝負を挑むっての？
Oh, you're approaching me.
なんですぐそうやって勝負ごとにするんだ。単なる実技演習だってのに。
I have to get closer to you to BC the heck out of you.
でもテレパシーなら私とっくにマスターしちゃってるからね。練習が必要なのは夏彦だけでしょ。練習台になってやるからちょっとやってみなよ。へい、カモン。
Hey, come on.
偉そうに。
Natsuhiko closed his eyes and put a finger to his temple. The posture is key to facilitating the use of telepathy. It's the same technique Mashiro used when she stopped the bus. Damn it, Mashiro, get off that high horse. Natsuhiko brought those words to mind. He then searched around for Mashiro's brainwaves. He concentrated hard to get her to hear his voice.
どうだ？届いたか？
Natsuhiko opened his eyes to see Mashiro grinning at him.
届いたよ。真っ白かわいい、素敵、ベリーキュートって。
そうか、なるほど。思ったのと真逆のことが伝わったということは、これは新たな能力かもしれないな。
Uh-oh.
真逆なんすか？
まあいずれにせよ、テレパシーは僕には難しすぎるんだな。相変わらずできる気がしない。
って諦めるの早すぎだよ。今まで使えなかったものがいきなり使えるようにはならないでしょ。
努力どうこうの話じゃないさ。向き不向きの問題だ。
Natsuhiko was incapable of the fundamental of fundamentals, short-distance telepathy with a familiar target. In the 6th level system of ability rankings, his was the lowest at level 0. Extreme oddity for students of the school. But suddenly, a voice of concern called out to them.
あら、私は天川くんは才能あると思うけど。
Hi, Anna.
あ、先生もそう思います？
僕自身はあまりそう思えないんですけど。
でも子供の頃に測った適正度はとても高かったはずでしょ？
そうですけど。
Even he found that a mystery himself. Latent BC talent could be quantified through genetic analysis. This measurement was called aptitude and was broken down into 6 ranks: E, D, C, B, A, and S. For some reason, Natsuhiko's aptitude was top class at rank S. Despite his aptitude, his talent was non-existent. He wasn't just teased once or twice about it. Which may or may not be a factor as to why Natsuhiko thoroughly hated the use of BC now.
要するにあの適正度テストって何かの間違いなんだと思いますよ。
そんなわけないわ。適正度ってのは生来のもので一生変わらないんだから。毎年4月に測るけど S から変わったことないでしょ。
まあ
Secretly, that wasn't the whole truth, but it was a long story, so Natsuhiko just left it at that.
この私でさえ B なのにね。理論上は夏彦の方が才能あるはずだよ。
Theoretically.
まあ才能が能力に比例するとは限らないってことだな。
何を言ってるの。自信を持ちなさいな。
It's like testing into the gifted program in a school. Correlating your standardized tests with how you do in life, so to speak.
適正度 S の生徒なんて私も天川くん以外に見たことないんだから。
先生は夏彦には甘いんですよね。ひいきよくない。
あら、人聞きの悪い。私はいつも公平に生徒のみんなを愛しているわよ。もっとも天川くんについては適性と能力の廃反に興味がそそられるのも確かだけどね。
Oh ho. Natsuhiko inadvertently looked away as soon as he saw Enna's teasing smile. Enna had only started teaching here since April, but she was a good teacher with devotion to her students and enthusiasm for education. She seemed particularly fond of Natsuhiko and always looked after him like this. No, she's not trying to be mean, but I really don't like it when people bring up the topic of BC.
とにかく天川くんは大器晩成型なのよ。鳥羽さんに教えてもらいながらじっくり頑張りなさいな。
任せてください先生。ビッシビシしごいてやりますから。
まあお手柔らかに。
And thus Natsuhiko and Mashiro practiced telepathy for a while. As always, Natsuhiko showed no signs of a breakthrough. The end of the class drew near. Having been Natsuhiko's practice partner for his entire school career, Mashiro was stumped.
今日もダメだね。
ああ、ダメだな。
だいたいやる気がなさすぎるんだよ夏彦は。せっかく練習に付き合ってあげてんのに。
Oh.
そうは言ってもな。テレパシーなんて大して使いたい能力でもないしさ。
なぬ、そりゃこの学園の生徒らしからの発言だね。
だって他者に意思を伝えるって言ったって要するに口で喋るのとあんまり変わらないだろ。せいぜい離れたところにいる相手と連絡できるくらいで。
ちっちっち、何にも分かってないね夏彦。テレパシーで伝えられることは声だけじゃないよ。言葉にはならない思いや感情を伝えることだってできるんだから。
分かってるけどそれってそんなに便利か？ピンとこないし。
もうほんとロマンが足りないんだから。じゃあちょっと体験させてあげるよ。この私が直々に。
Mashiro put her finger up to her temple, exasperated.
いいよ別に。
When those words left Natsuhiko's lips, Mashiro's voice rang through his head.
さっきからエナ先生の方チラッチラ見てんじゃないよ。そんなんで練習になるわけないでしょ。
Along with hearing Mashiro's words, Natsuhiko felt her emotion, anger and resentment.
見てたか？
練習に付き合うのがアホらしくなるほど。
そうか。それは申し訳ない。
Oh, Natsuhiko. Wasn't really aware I was doing it myself. I guess older women are one of my weaknesses. When that thought passed through Natsuhiko's mind, Anna stood at the podium and spoke.
さて皆さん、そろそろ授業も終わりですが、今日の実習はどうだったかしら。少し
はあ、なんとなく。
至近距離テレパシーはもう完璧です。
Candid answers flew across the room from all directions. Anna smiled and addressed her students.
歩みは人それぞれのようね。でもうまく上達しない人も焦ることはありません。 BC の習熟というのにはとかく時間がかかるものだもの。だけどね、能力レベルや練習期間にかかわらず一つ確かに言えることがあるわ。 BC の使用のため重要となるのは言うまでもなく集中力。五感とは違う第六の感覚を引き出すためには常識を超えた集中力が必要なのよ。
Concentration that transcends common sense.
集中しているつもりなんですが。
Boy who seemed quite lacking in concentration mused. Anna smiled and replied.
半端な集中力ではダメよ。 BC を使用するほどの極度の集中がなされると代わりに五感が減衰すると言われています。場合によっては体温や脈拍の低下など生命反応さえ弱まることも。その境地に達した時、脳の新たな力が発揮され BC の世界の扉が開くのよ。
Upon hearing that statement, Natsuhiko secretly thought to himself. Concentration, huh? That's the one thing I lack the most of this class. When he thought that, it was right around the same time the dismissal bell rang.
はい、それじゃ今日の BC の授業は終わりよ。みんなお疲れ様でした。
Oh, later after second period. Oh wow, okay. Lunch break started. Mashiro called out to Natsuhiko.
はいはい、ご飯の時間だよ。夏彦、一緒に食べようよ。
いいな。
Why not?
もう私お腹ペコペコだよ。食物確保に行こうよ。
When Mashiro would come to the Tenkawa residence to make breakfast, she didn't prepare boxed lunches. When she offered to do so, Natsuhiko politely declined out of his concern for appearances.
それじゃどうするかな。購買にするか、学食にしようか。
今からじゃ学食は混んでるだろうしね。ここは素直に購買に行っとこ。
了解。
Natsuhiko and Mashiro left the classroom. During lunch break, students would huddle up and chat in the classrooms in the courtyard. To hear voices coming from every which way just by walking down the corridor.
いや、今日も賑やかだね。
いや、賑やかすぎるだろう。
In this school, you could hear all sorts of conversations regardless of distance. Like this particular dramatic tension of youth, for example.
宗像さん、俺はあなたが好きです。付き合ってください。誰？っていうかテレパシーで告白しないでよ。恥ずかしいじゃない。二度とこんなことはしないで。宗像さん、宗像さん。
Or those trying to use BC for an advantage in sports.
おい、次はカーブで行くぞ。オーケー、ストライクゾーンギリギリ狙ってけ。あのさ、お前らテレパシーダダ漏れだぞ。まずい、選球変えろ。やっぱフォークだ、フォーク。だから漏れてるって。普通にサイン使えよ。
Or those using untargeted BC to have their voices heard by the masses, even though they knew it was wrong.
Hello everybody! 軽音部ゲリラライブのお時間だ。今日は校内のみんなに我がエンジェル神谷とザ・コミュニケーターズの新曲を披露しちゃうよ。
How do you broadcast a song through BC?
それじゃ早速行こうか。1曲目、コミュニケーションブレイクスルー。グレイプリスマのコミュニケーションブレイクスルー。Oh, communication breaks love. 1, 2, 3. Bad in love, bad in love, bad in love.
Boo! You suck!
飯がまずくなる。
That was terrible!
食ってんじゃねえ。バンド名がダセえんだよ。
Or even private talk that should be best kept to oneself.
あ、見ろ。エナ先生が廊下走ってる。すっごいおっぱい揺れてる。
Okay.
それってわざわざ BC 使って伝えることか？魂の叫びというやつか？
One of the cries of the sad, horny soul.
いや、先生に聞かれたら怒られるからさ。多分聞かれてるぞ。今まで隠してたが、お前のテレパシーって基本ダダ漏れだ。マジで？いや、お前もなんだけど。何？
Many such voices rang out directly in Natsuhiko and Mashiro's brains. Telepathy is, by nature, an ability to convey one's voice to specific individuals. However, communicators inexperienced with telepathy often end up accidentally sending mass untargeted emails. Mass untargeted emails. In a way, I suppose you're not wrong.
ほんとうるさい学校だよな。
そう？いつものことじゃん。
True enough, these were familiar sights and sounds for students at the school. It's the logical consequence of attending a communicator-exclusive school, but still, reckless usage of BC isn't commendable at all. Abuse of untargeted telepathy was prohibited, as it was an issue of bad manners. Yeah! But said prohibition was not necessarily upheld, however. Especially for those who aren't used to it. You could, like, fucking cause chaos and traffic and the like. Just then, as if to answer Natsuhiko's prayers, an announcement was broadcast school-wide.
皆さん、テレパシーの乱用はやめなさい。学校の外まで届いちゃって、近所から苦情が来てます。
Immediately after the announcement ended, the BC traffic around the school came to a screeching halt.
ようやく静かになったか。
やれやれ、テレパシーすらダダ漏れになるなんて、この学校も未熟者ばかりだよ。
今朝のことを考えると、お前も偉そうなことは言えないけどな。
And with that conversation, Natsuhiko and Mashiro left to buy food. After the end of an eventful lunch period, afternoon classes began. Afternoon curriculum included modern language and politics and economics. I like this teacher. Oh, she's gone. Natsuhiko was unskilled with BC, but he took pride in the other subjects. There was a quick refresher quiz since summer break ended, but he finished it easily. With that, today's classes came to a close.
はい、皆さん、今日も一日お疲れ様でした。
Anna greeted the class in the afternoon as their substitute homeroom teacher. The original homeroom teacher was on maternity leave, so Anna was filling in.
連絡事項とかは特にありません。それじゃ、また明日ね。
And as soon as Anna left, the classroom broke into noise. Students still hadn't settled in since summer break, and so naturally they wanted to go enjoy themselves after school. Natsuhiko was an indoorsman, and so essentially he intended to go straight home after school. But Mashiro stopped him before he could.
夏彦、ちょっと待って。
なんだよ、マシロ。
God, Mashiro's theme is a jam.
食料品なくなっちゃったの。買い出し行くから付き合ってよ。
あれ
High energy.
もうかわかったよ。なら行こう。
Just like her. High energy.
助かるよ。
He could hardly refuse her request. Those groceries were going into his and Yuuri's stomachs after all. But upon hearing their conversation, some of their classmates jumped in.
おやおや天川くんに飛ばさん帰りに夕げの買い物とは仲がよろしい子ってすな
Shut up.
新婚気分ってやつですよ、あれは。
Okay, you're not wrong, but still, shut up.
じゃあ真白新妻なんかエロい響き。
もうみんなそんなんじゃないって。ほら、夏彦んちってお母さん忙しいからさ、私が代わりにご飯だけ作ってあげてんの。
That's
そ
gonna
ん
go.
だけの話だよ。
It's gonna go over just as well.
怪しいな。純粋な親切心だけで毎日そんなことできるかな。
できますとも。この鳥羽真白さんは困った人を見ると見逃せないのさ。
Mashiro's declaration only incited shrill squealing from the girls. They made Natsuhiko uncomfortable. Understandably.
ほらもういいだろ。真っ白行くぞ。
ちょっと夏彦。
Natsuhiko pulled Mashiro by the hand as if to escape from the classroom.
あのな、真っ白。このクラスになって半年経ってんだぞ。みんなも事情分かっててわざとからかってんだから、いちいち真面目に取り合うことないの。
へえ。
そうなの？
Wait, really? Mashiro responded as she had never considered the thought.
やれやれ。まったくお前は浅はかなんだから。
Natsuhiko lightly karate chopped Mashiro on the head. Yeah.
ひどい夏彦。なんでそんなこと言うんだよ。
いや、お前には感謝してるけどさ。変な噂立てられたら困るのはお前だぞ。
It really seemed as if Mashiro knew nothing of the situation. Ah, she's really such a kid. Natsuhiko sighed silently. Why can't you just avoid their questions with some non-committal answers? Natsuhiko was the one to conduct himself well in class. He had a fair amount of friends and nobody in particular hated him. It was for that reason that they were able to tease him like that. But to the very end, Natsuhiko was merely exerting conscious control over his interpersonal relations to live a fulfilling school life. He tried not to make any needlessly deep relationships, and he didn't want to reveal too much about his private life either. That's just tiring. That's understandable. I feel you there, Natsuhiko. Sometimes school relationships, people you think you're friends with people, but it's surface level. School is full of a lot of surface level friendships, so to speak. It takes a lot to actually come out of that with deep friendships that persist outside of school and after school, after you graduate and the like. It takes a lot for that, and that's rare. It is tiring, in my opinion at least. Maybe because I was kind of in the same boat. That was how Natsuhiko thought, but not Mashiro. Really was kind of in the same boat as Natsuhiko here. It's just a lot of personal control over relationships with people, and I always had a good impression of people, and they had a good impression of me, but nothing really stuck outside of school. She would associate with anyone up front. She hated lies and lived with steadfast honesty. It was probably why she could not understand Natsuhiko's worldly wisdom. And so, like always, Natsuhiko gave up.
まあいい。それより今日はどこへ？
センター街のショッピングエリア。あそこのスーパーでセールやってんだ。
そうか。そりゃ見逃せない。売り切れる前に行こう。
Two of them carried on their cliched household conversation as they left school. Leaving school, Natsuhiko and Mashiro took a bus to the heart of the city. Oh, nice. Oh, I like this. Right beside the bus stop was the shopping area. There stood a staggering amount of people.
こりゃ混んでるね。
でもせっかく来たんだし、行こう。
補欠にいらすんはなんとやらだね。
Natsuhiko and Mashiro marched into the shopping area in high spirits. About an hour later. Upon exiting the building, Mashiro stressed as she spoke.
いやー、ついつい買いすぎちゃったね。
買いすぎちゃったねじゃないよ。余計なものまで買いすぎだろ。
These things happen. Natsuhiko complained, but both his arms burdened with bags. In addition to doing the groceries, Mashiro also stopped by a second-hand toy shop in the shopping area and made some purchases there. She bought old anime figures and magazines, data discs, and other various goods beyond Natsuhiko's comprehension.
まったく人に荷物持たせてると思って。
だって貴重なお宝がいっぱいあったんだよ。例えばこのアニメーズ2020年4月号。
Oh, wow.
今じゃ伝説と呼ばれてる某アニメ監督の特集記事が載っててさ。
Really? Matsuhiko started talking. Matsuhiko? Did I just accidentally conflate their names two different ways in this episode? Mashiro and Matsuhiko? Mashiro started talking about the 10-year-old anime magazine she just bought.
監督の代表作といえば国営放送アニメ超能力少女ビヨンドビヨンド。
Oh boy, Psychic Girl Beyond Beyond. Well, let's check that out, actually. We're gonna save our game. Oops, I think we left some... Yeah, I think we left some from near the end game before. Okay, let's review our tips. Been a while. Grand Communicator Discovery. Oh boy. First of the year 2014, when elementary particle physicist Miyoko Tenkawa proposed the informational field hypothesis, and the Andresi witch hunt made the world keenly aware of the existence of BC. As if in concert with these events, newborn children around the world began to be born with mutated IGF-2R genes. The rate of incidence of these births grew year by year, and now in 2030, roughly 166,000 people are ability level 1 or higher, meaning about 0.002 of the 8.3 billion people alive are communicators. Incidentally, Japan has an exceptionally high percentage of communicators, with roughly 48,000 people ability level 1, or about 0.004% of the 120 million Japanese citizens. We'll joke that the increased proportion is due to the Japanese culture of not expressing one's inner emotions. The real reason for Japan having a rate twice that high of the world average is still unclear. Perhaps it originated here. With Miyoko Tenkawa's experiments. I'm curious about this. What the heck's the Andresi witch hunt? B.O.P.O. Oh my god. Oh, there's a logo. Oh no. Full title: Psychic Girl Beyond Beyond. Animated TV series broadcast by NDK, Nippon Denka Kyokai, from July to September 2019. Based on a radio drama of the same name. 13 episodes. Fans affectionately call it B.O.B.O. Kirara. A simple elementary schoolgirl meets a mysterious stuffed animal named Yeti and awakens to her psychic powers to become Psychic Girl Beyond Kami. A magical girl, so to speak, who protects the townspeople from a dark secret in society. Oh boy. Yeah, that's timely. For some reason, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology, MEXT, is listed as part of the production committee in the credits. Okay, I'm not surprised. It aired at an ideal time slot of 6:30 to 7 p.m., helping it gain a huge following of not just its target audience of female elementary school children, but also their parents, and even male adult anime fans with interest in the overwhelming movie quality, animation, and direction. As a result, the main character, Kirara, was so universally beloved that she was dubbed Japan's little sister. Also of note is that the scenario writer for the series had only written 2 series in total before disappearing from the anime industry. Perhaps out of a fully fulfilled creative urge. Yeah, you got an icon now. You could just sit back and make royalty money. Or if we just flash back here to the ghost who was just withered grass. The frightening ghost, upon closer inspection, was just withered grass. A saying based on the haiku written by the Genroku-era poet Yokoi Yayu in his Haibun anthology Uzurakuromo. Haiku means that even strange and unusual things become insignificant once you learn the truth behind them. However, the original haiku written by Yayu is said to be closer to the bakemono. Upon closer inspection, was just withered grass. And over time, bakemono was changed to frightening ghost. Ghosts, monsters, and the like are often seen in books, folklore, and myths, but ghost stories were particularly popular in the Edo period, where the so-called three great ghost stories of Japan were born in succession: Yotsuya Kaidan, Sarayashiki, and Botandoro. The change from bakemono to ghost may have originated around this time. A phrase with a similar meaning is suspicion begets monsters. There's also the comic haiku used in Rakugo storytelling. I readied my sword, but on closer inspection, 'twas a willow tree. Yeah, that's a more silly and fun version of this. Going from the bakemono to the frightening ghost seems like more of an adaptational English translation thing. The theme can be seen in other literary works as well. It is the fearful human heart that creates the unknown. It is. Lake Rokame, a wide lake on the southeastern side of Rokame City. In addition to being used for Rokame City's water services, agricultural, irrigation, and industrial water source, it's also used as a coolant for the heavy machinery in LABO's Area N. The water brought into LABO through the intake pipe heats up around 25 degrees C before being expelled through the drainage pipe back into Lake Rokame. The water is over 50 degrees at the time of the drainage. Lake Rokame is an acidotrophic lake with a low pH, and thus does not have much wildlife to begin with, so the hot water has negligible effect on the ecosystem. I wonder if Lake Rokame was my thought was that what if it was like man-made lake and not something that just naturally developed? I guess that's an explanation too. Why it doesn't have much in the way of wildlife to disrupt. Rokame Academy. As Rokame is said to be an academic research city, it has an abundance of educational institutions. The most characteristic of this city is the communicator-exclusive Rokame Academy. Lessons and curriculum are tailored to include BC history and the individual development of BC abilities, and thus students with higher ability levels are given more benefits such as scholarships. Rokame Academy has integrated elementary, middle, and high school campuses with roughly 300 elementary students, 150 middle school students, and 90 high school students. Wow, that's... Yeah, okay, yeah, it's communicator exclusive, so that makes more sense. They're just thinking how small that was, but yeah. Considering how the grand communicator discovery that sparked the boom with the communicator birth was only 16 years ago, high school students are said to be the forerunners of the future BC society. As the premier school that gets the honor of carrying the city's name, the study environment is extremely satisfactory, including the generous distribution of teaching materials such as a 7-inch tablet for every student. It helps that it's so small. Alright. On that note, when we return, we're gonna finish going shopping with Mashiro. Probably dinner time, as we conclude our first peaceful day. We'll see if things get not so peaceful yet, or if that will come later on down the line. Until next time, until then.